like crazy sounds outside. I'm in New York, so I don't know. Sometimes there's like people yelling in the street and whatnot, but we're gonna try to stay focused.
No worries, no worries. Well, again, thank you so much. I was just kind of explaining why I wanted you on today, and the main reason is to inspire the next generation. And really, it's just kind of allowing people to go for it. That's kind of my message.
Yeah.
I want to give out. Hey, really, real quick, look at this.
I know, I saw that before. Thanks for wearing that. I appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure.
I was going to like try and, well, I had the idea of bringing one of my old warm-ups, and but then obviously I forgot.
No worries. So. I was like thinking back to when I coached you and when we were on that team, and that was 10 years ago now. Crazy.
I know, it's so crazy. When you just said that, I was like, I can't believe that. Was it? Yeah. Yeah, because I was
about 10 years ago. Yeah.
Sophomore, junior.
Yeah. So I'm just like I said before to everybody, I'm just so proud of you, and like the way you treat yourself and the way you handled yourself, it's just awesome to see. So that's what the purpose of this is to try to share some of that success mindset and passion and inspiration for the next generation.
No, I appreciate you having me, and I appreciate the players being interested. And I just think, obviously my career went in one direction, but it could have gone a lot of ways. And I think that volleyball and being part of a team, and there are so many lessons that, not that you take for granted, because I didn't, but that certain things, until the moment you're like, wow, I just really am grateful for those experiences and opportunities that seemed very like specific in the moment for what we were doing, but really like they're life lessons that are always valuable and are so helpful. So
yeah. Yeah, and it's crazy how quick it goes, right? And you don't think about it in the moment, right? And then like sometimes it takes a decade and you like look back and you're like, man, like that was just like a special experience with a special group of people. And sometimes when you're in it, like some of my players now, like it's just they go through the motions, and again, like that's what the purpose is for today's talk. And I just wanted to provide a platform that you could just speak directly to them.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. It's gonna be good.
Okay, cool, awesome.
Well, let's do it.
Yeah, let's jump in. So, G, what does living inspired mean to you?
For me, I feel like, and I've said this before, people look at what I do or what they see publicly, which is 1% of my life and is snippets when, in terms of press and stuff like that. And I think they just assume that everything's always good all the time, and that it's just easy to like be in this glamorous life or whatever. But like I, like everyone else, don't wake up feeling like Gigi Hadid every day, the Gigi Hadid that the world knows. And I think that what has helped me is taking each day to like really be tuned in with myself, and that the smallest like idea or inspiration or whatever like can change your whole day. Whether that's like, okay, today I want to like watercolor, today I want to learn how to build a chair, today sorry, someone called.
No worries.
You can have the smallest thought, idea, and it can really get you out of a funk. So I feel like inspired living is really about being in touch with yourself and not taking any piece of joy as something that's too small. Like, I think that no caller ID, rude. That no piece of joy is too small, and it can really change your day, change your week, change your month, change your year. Like, there's so many people even in COVID and in quarantine that really have felt like they're in a funk and have done something to kind of change their path in life or what they thought, and they've been unafraid to take that leap. And And I know that in the moment it's scary, and anything that is worth it has a moment of discomfort, but then through that you can really like change the course of your mindset and everything. So I think inspired living is about listening to yourself and doing what feels right in the moment, and that can lead to more moments.
Yeah, no, I love that. Absolutely love that. I mean, you know, my podcast that I started in COVID in shutdown it's all about that. It's all about living an inspired life. And I was thinking of you, you know, because like there's no other person that comes to mind that's just like grabbed life, just went for it. Even when and we'll talk about volleyball in a second, but like
Yeah.
even when you were playing, like you were just like, I'm not tipping, coach, I'm hitting. Like I'm going.
I'm like, but why? If you can just smack it.
But I just feel
Yeah.
like you do that with life. You just go for it, and you know that whole question, living an inspired life, or what does inspired living mean? Like, I really want people to understand that, and I'm no master of this. I'm just curious about it, right? Because to
Yeah.
me, I think that's the goal.
Yeah.
You know, it's not just
And I'm
living.
not and I'm not a I'm not a master of it either. Like I
Yeah,
think we all have to find our own way, and
right. That's right.
yeah. But to pay attention to when you feel fulfilled and like when you feel like there's a spark in you is
Yes.
important.
Yes, exactly. And right now, like, I just feel like that might be kind of difficult for a lot of people. You know, especially with social media, you know, and I don't really want to get into all that because that's a different conversation, but you know, just I love what you said, just following that something that gives you a pep in your step, you know?
Yeah. And
And
that
really
it doesn't need to be nothing's too small, you know? Like that's
yeah.
important.
And so like how do you stay inspired on a day-to-day basis?
I mean, now I have a daughter, so it's just like she is she keeps me inspired just because I get to see her experience things. Really kind of that same thing, like trying to do something every day that puts an extra pep, whether that's, you know, doing yoga or writing in my journal or just not necessarily just being creative, but doing something that is a little bit different every day if you can.
Love that.
So,
And congratulations to the addition of your family too. So proud of you.
thank you. Thanks.
Yes. And can you talk about anyone specific, like who inspires you now?
It's hard. Like, I there's so many people, and I
I
think
know.
that, and it's for different reasons, you know what I mean? It could,
Yeah.
there's so many women to look up to, and not only that are famous or in the public eye, but just walking down the street in New York and seeing someone just like in the middle of COVID, just like killing their outfit, you know what I mean? Just like, and you're just like, you're clearly like probably not going anywhere. Like you're just doing that for yourself. Like you look awesome, and like people might think you look a bit crazy, but I love it. Like even just like people that I don't know inspire me on the street.
I love that.
I saw like a video of like a UPS worker just like having a little boogie to herself in the snow. And it's like little things like that. I think
For sure.
that every day we can find new people that inspire and encourage us to like bring something out in ourselves or
Yeah. 100%. Could you speak on Serena Williams for a second? Because she's
I was gonna bring up Serena, yeah.
yeah, because she inspires me just like for her incredible, legendary career. But I know you guys are tight, so could you just speak on her for a second?
Yeah, I mean, I'm like, you know, yeah, we're friends, but when I'm in the stands, I'm just like an embarrassing fan. And I don't know, like, obviously, I'm not comparing myself even in the slightest percentage to Serena Williams as an athlete, but when I watch her play tennis, it's like that is when I most miss playing volleyball, because like I feel like that fire and just like seeing her, which is she's just like she's not a freak of nature, but like the most epic natural being that like could be on this planet, in my opinion. Like just watching her, like she's a machine, and just like the passion that is behind her when she's playing, but then also as a friend and as a person. And like when you go to karaoke with her, like she has that same fire, and I just think that that's so awesome, and she's so funny and just so herself. But also, like, after a loss, like she also like takes that to heart, and she still cares, and she's still, you know, there's not anything jaded about her. And I don't know, I feel that, like, I'm sure that you remember, like, when I would make mistakes while playing, I was really hard on myself, and in certain ways that would hurt my game, and I think that's something that we worked on a lot, and that you would, you know, gee, like, no, we're not going there right now. Like, I can just remember your face and just be like, shut up, coach, in my head. Not that I would ever say that to you, but just like, you know, that when you're nervous still, like, you still care about what you're doing. And I think I love watching Serena for that sense. I can feel like, I don't know, that I would have hoped I had a little bit of that in me when I was a player.
Yeah, well, you did. I guess I brought her up because, and now we can get into volleyball stuff, but
Yeah.
I brought her up because both you guys remind me of that allowing yourself to go for it mentality.
Right.
You know, like she just allowed herself to go for it for her dreams and passions. You're allowing yourself to go for it in your career. And I think that's a big topic for everybody, myself included. All of us, we need to allow ourselves kind of get out of our own way, so to speak, you know?
Yeah, and like you know, I've always said, I think that a lot of athletes in general are focused people, you know what I mean? And we're naturally determined and whatever. But I think that if you get tunnel vision on one thing that you want to do, and you kind of don't allow yourself to be open and therefore like ready to other opportunities, then you can miss out in that sense. You know what I mean? And that's something that was really a blessing from that my mom gave me, was like, because she started modeling so young, and, you know, like, I wanted to work even in high school, and she was like, I had like one-off jobs in high school, but I wasn't fully signed or working full time. And she was like, you know, we're privileged that you don't have to be doing a job like that right now to support our family. And therefore, she didn't want all my eggs in one basket of like, if my modeling career doesn't happen after high school, like, I need to have other possibilities. And volleyball was a huge, you know, was a huge possibility that I could have, you know, gone and played in college. So was horseback riding, and I loved art. I could have gone to art school. I would have gone to cooking school, but I ended up studying criminal psychology.
That's right. That's
yeah.
right.
Yeah. And like, she was just like, I just had a mom that really never like said no, or like or made me feel weird about different interests that I had.
Right.
And that she was really set on, you know, you're not going to sign to an agency until you're done with high school. And I think that let me really be more focused on the things that I wanted to do otherwise. And that's how I could learn so much from volleyball and everything that I did, because I cared and I focused on it, and I wanted to be the best that I could be in whatever I did. I didn't want to half-ass. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that. Half-ass.
Yeah, you can say whatever you want.
So yeah. And I think, yeah. And then, you know, whatever it was, taking an acting class here or there or whatever. So that, I don't know if you remember this, but I'm going to tell this story. Sorry to cut you off, and there's more questions. But So I wasn't working, like, and then one day I was driving home from school, and like this lady in a Mini Cooper was like flagging me down on PCH, and I was like, is she okay? Like, what's going on? And like, and she's like, pull over, pull over. And I was like, is something wrong with my car, whatever? So I like pulled into a grocery store parking lot, and I was like, is everything okay? And she's like, I go to the American Film Institute, and I'm doing my graduation film. I want you to audition. And I was like, what? And everyone should remember that like no one knew who I was in high school. Obviously, I wasn't working. I was just a normal high school kid, and like she just, I guess, saw me in the car and like knew that she wanted to cast me for her like graduation film. So I went and I auditioned for the movie, and this is in the middle of one of my seasons with Erin. And I got the part. It was a short film. I think we filmed for 3 months, but it was something that, you know, I had never acted before, but I had to be open and confident and just kind of like take the leap. And there are, again, times that were awkward and times that were weird because I didn't know what I was doing, but you just have to learn as you go, be really aware of everything around you, take in not only being an actor, like even now with what I do, like I'm not just a model. Like I want to look at the lighting team and learn about what they're doing. I want to learn about the set design and props, and I learn something new from every part of that set all day, you know what I mean? And that was kind of the same with that. I just took it as I went and tried to take in as much information as I could and as I went. But I also respect you as a coach so much, because even though you definitely didn't like just let me think that I could like whatever go film a movie for 3 months and like come in and out of practice whenever I wanted, like you were still like, no, you're a player here.
Yeah.
And like you're gonna, I don't care how long you're filming, if it starts at 3 a.m, like you're gonna come to practice, and if you miss this, you're not starting in the next game. And like, you know, things like that you have to learn, you know, how to work in complex situations like that, because that's life. And like, but I was ready when the opportunity came, and it was such a random opportunity, but like I was ready when it came. And then I like we figured out like how to go about it. And I think also as a coach to realize that your players, not everyone is just going to become a volleyball player in the end.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like you were also like open to realizing that we're all going to like maybe go to different jobs and go and have different futures. And like, yeah, although the team was important to both of us, like you also gave me the opportunity to, because, you know, if you had said no, like, no, straight up, no, you're not like going to start, at that point, volleyball was more important to me. You know what I mean? And like, so, but it gave me a really good learning opportunity. And yeah, I had to work harder because I, at that point, had to homeschool for 3 months or do independent study from school. And then I was still practicing, and yeah.
That's so awesome. Thank you for sharing that story. And
Yeah, no worries.
I'm like going back through that time, because I was a young coach at the time, and I was trying to figure out how to like, you know, get the best out of all you guys and make it a fun experience, and also teach life lessons that you could take beyond the court, you know? So
yeah,
it means a lot to me to hear that from you. Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Well, let's jump into volleyball, because that's why I wanted you on here. So thinking back to when you were playing competitive volleyball, not just at club, but at Pally too, at high school, what did you love most about it?
It's hard to put words to it because it's really like a feeling that I miss. And especially the years that I played for you, like I think those teams were really special. And I mean, I think everyone feels like their team is special, and
Sure.
You know, but I still really remember the girls that I played with. And it's something that like I hope the girls that are watching today, like I know that life feels like there's so much ahead of you, and like you're really looking forward, because a lot of the girls are going to start, you know, applying to schools or getting accepted or trying out or whatever, and it's like it just looks so far in advance. But like to really appreciate and like and not that I'm sure they are fully in it, but like take it in and like really appreciate it while you're in it, because it's not like, you know, obviously you think it's easy, like, oh, I can just go like hop into a beach game right now, or like, oh, I could go find like a volleyball club maybe for adults, but like it's not as easy as you think once you're out of that system or a place where you have an opportunity to do that. And even if you did, even if I were to go to the beach right now and join in a game, it's just not the same as when you know everyone on your team, you know about each other as players, you can start to build that chemistry and a trust and something behind just being on the court together, you know what I mean? And yes. I think that that's really hard to come by again. There's almost nothing like it else in life, you know what I mean? You can do so many other things, but that's hard to replicate.
It is, and it's crazy like how you realize that after, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, that's why
I don't know, you just think like, oh, like, I mean, even now I think like I hope, not that I'm gonna like push her, but like I'm definitely gonna like roll a volleyball like towards my daughter in the next couple of years and like hope she picks it up. But like I'm not forcing anything. But even that, I'm just like, that will never be the same to me. Like, yeah, my daughter will be playing volleyball, but like I can't be on the team, you know what I mean? So it's like yeah, just that's what I miss. I miss, like, it's hard to explain that feeling that you get to have when you're really like on a team, unless you're going to go to the Olympics or whatever and that becomes your career, then that's awesome. But
no, I love that, G. That's great. And carry that a little bit more. Like, what lessons did you learn from your experience that carried over into your everyday life?
So many. I mean, which starts at like being on time and like right. respecting the fact that even if your job seems like self-employed or singular, like we all work with or need other people. And it doesn't matter if you're the boss or if you're coworkers or on an equal level with other people that you work with in terms of the job title. No one is more important than someone else on that team. And like I always take that into consideration when I am working, because like, yeah, I'm the end product that people see, but my time isn't more valuable than the catering person or the person that cleans up the studio at the end of the day. And like my job wouldn't be possible without those people. So being on time and being nice and looking people in the eye and asking their name, and like those are things that I learned from being on a volleyball team, where it's like, yeah, you might have the kill, but like that kill's not possible without every other part of what just happened on the court, whether that's an actual play or keeping your voice up if you're on the bench, you know what I mean? And I think just the repetitiveness of doing that and and the importance that you put and Coach Gray and you guys were my the coaches that I worked with the most in my volleyball career.
Yeah, shout out Coach Gray.
Shout out Coach Gray. We just want to make you proud.
Yeah.
But yeah, you played for Coach Gray too, right?
I did, back when I was growing up.
That's so crazy.
13 years old. Like, yeah, he's just a mentor, you know.
Yeah, no. But I think you both, like, you weren't pushover coaches. Like, I still respect the shit out of you guys. You know what I mean? I still call you coach. Like, you know what I mean? 10 years later, and it's like that is something that everyone can carry through their life. Like, the people that are your mentors that help you through life are like, that's what life is. It's like, that's what builds everything.
For sure. And would you agree with this one, G? Because I'm thinking like one of your biggest strengths back then, and I feel like it is today too, is that you can relate to others so well and that you can meet them on their level first. You know, I just feel like that's a big skill set. Does that resonate with you?
Thank you. 100%. Like, I think, you know, when we are club players, you don't go to school with every girl that you play with that season. You don't know them. I mean, obviously some girls, but you don't know most of the girls through childhood. And it's like you're all kind of put together like a band, and it's like, okay, now go perform together. And you have to put value in each person. You know what I mean?
Right.
And you have to go into that situation like wanting to make the effort to connect with everyone on a certain level, because like that's just going to make the whole team better. And like I said, not just the technical parts, but there's so much to do with chemistry in a team building and emotional sense.
Right. It's very emotional. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I think that social dynamic is huge, and it definitely carries forward into whatever career people choose, you know? So, yeah, I appreciate you saying that. What advice would you give to the next generation of players?
Like I said, appreciate it while you're in it.
Yeah.
And I guess I would say, like, whatever it is that you want to do should be kind of approached with the same mindset of professionalism. And my mom always said, if, you know, in my job, the looks are part of it, right? But she always said, if you're not the nicest, most hardworking girl in that room, the industry in the world is huge. Pretty doesn't really matter, right? Like, and I think that can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you. Go ahead.
That's with whatever career you're going into. Like, there's always like a baseline for whoever you're going to be interacting or even competing against for the same job. And so if you're not if you're not the nicest and most hardworking person in the room, there's going to be someone prettier, nicer, and more hardworking. So in other jobs, smarter, nicer, and more hardworking, stronger, nicer, and more hardworking, more I just think that like talent and whatever that baseline is, like if you're hardworking and you're someone that's cool to be around, that sometimes can surpass your qualification of that job. Does that make sense?
Yes.
I'm not like I don't give my success to being prettier than anyone else in my industry. I give my success to the fact that on a lot of days, like I'm the person that's gonna go one more step beyond or be just like nicer to be around, and like that can make a small difference. And then like the industry will take you from there because people talk, people are all friends, people, you know, will push for you if you made a small difference in their day. And I just think that like that goes for any industry that you're in or whatever is important in that industry. That you can't think that just because you're talented or smart doesn't mean that like you can be disrespectful and like people are just going to keep you around because you're good at what you do.
That's huge. That's absolutely huge. Yeah, I love that. I love that. I think that's a really good segue to mindset. I just have a few questions on mindset that I want you to kind of share your success mindset, which you're doing right now. So like, how did you create and maintain your mindset of success? Which kind of carries over to just what you just said, you know, just like that attitude.
Honestly, it's kind of that, and then it's building on that from there, which is like you have to always be ready for the next thing. And I think that staying inspired and being inspired helps so much with that, because if you're always learning and you don't settle in terms of thinking that you know everything, there's nothing left to learn, then you can always build on what you already do, because you're adding more tools to your toolbox, you know what I mean? And then from there you can like do more things. At this point, like, I've pretty much almost done every job within modeling that would equal success. But it's like from there, now my success to me is related to what I feel fulfilled in and what is creative and what I can be part of the process with. And right now that takes me really being like, making a conscious effort to say like, what inspires me? What genuinely will people see in terms of creating a product or a series or any, you know, any type of output to the world that seems genuine because it's something that I have thought about and worked towards and learned about, that then will make sense to the people that are following me. You know what I mean?
And create positive impact.
Yeah.
You know? And that's why I'm so proud of you and so inspired by you, because I'll tell everyone a quick story. Like when you had, you know, Carlos and me fly out to New York and do that, do the Reebok event. And you launched your line. I just want to tell this quick story because it was so cool, because you put shoes on everybody, like the staff, all the kids that were participating. And there was this moment, which goes back to like allowing yourself to go for it. Because like I said before, all you did was hit. You didn't tip or anything. You just hit. Do you remember the very last thing that we did at that clinic? So Annie McCroskey was there, and she set you, and you were like, Coach, I just want to take a swing. But there was like a bunch of kids on the other side, and I was just like, oh my God, because the net was like this.
Yeah, the net. Yeah, blessed.
You just went up, and Annie gave you like a perfect set. You like crushed this ball. I was just like, oh my God, I hope a kid doesn't get hurt.
Broken.
On the other side stepped in and like,
oh my God, that was sick.
Like perfectly, like it was like a Sports Center moment, like like it just
dug it like that.
Yeah, just boom. And like I remember everyone just went and just hugged her, and you just ran over to her. You're like, oh my God, that was amazing.
Yeah, no, that was, I mean, first we should talk about Annie, because if people don't know, Annie was the setter that I played with and was a setter that I had so much chemistry with, like as a friend, but so like she was just butter for me, like
for sure.
But that was 10 years later. We hadn't played volleyball together in 10 years, and it's not just muscle memory. It's like chemistry is a muscle memory. Like the feeling that I get when like Annie is setting that ball is still there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And even thinking about that, and not that I can even jump as high or swing as hard. And like, I think, you know, after that day, I'm sore for like a few days. It's muscles that I don't use, but it's there and I can do it. But yeah, to like put yourself in a situation where you're like, you give yourself the tools to then hopefully give an opportunity to other people, and then to see that kid who, you know, their coaches were telling us that like they like volleyball, but it's like a thing, it's an activity that they do at school, and like they don't really take it seriously. And that after that day with us, like they really started to care because we put them in a situation that pushed them for a second, and they saw what volleyball could be on a higher level. And kind of when kids are more focused, but also like forced for a second into just like, probably just no one even tried to hit at them that hard.
Right. Right.
And like, when you just go off instinct for a second, like she just dug it. It was like magic. And I was like, oh my God. But she hopefully felt that what that magic is of volleyball. And I think that like, you know, just that little spark can like really change the course of a kid's like passion path.
Totally. It made her day, and I'm sure she's still thinking about it to this day.
Yeah, she's like,
So,
I'm a libero. That's
yeah,
it.
she's
Like, I'm
exactly.
ready. I want to do that every day.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit, talk a little bit about gratitude, because I'm so proud of you because of your success, but it's not just about your success, it's about how grateful you are. I was watching the video of you accept your Woman of the Year award. I think that was 2017.
Yeah.
And you go through this list of, just, so thankful and so thankful. And, one of the things I'm trying to pay forward, to the next generation of kids, and is to embody that gratitude.
Mm-hmm.
So I just feel like you do that naturally. Could you talk about that and just talk about where that comes from, and why you're so grateful?
I'm grateful because well, I should say, like, just going back to speeches that I get and awards that I get, like, afterwards, while I'm writing them, and then afterwards, I might have a bit of anxiety or self-doubt where I'm like, did I talk for too long? Should I have just gone into, like, accepting the award? Does everyone really want to, like, sit here and hear who I'm grateful for? But then I'm like, I would just feel really awkward if I just went to accept an award about, like, that has to do with, like, the success of my entire career, and just be like, thank you so much, like, this has been fun. Like,
Right.
it just wouldn't, it doesn't make sense to do that without the gratitude part. Because every day, it doesn't mean Donatella Versace and Tommy Hilfiger and Tom Ford and all of these amazing people that are the top of our bosses. It's also, like I said, the catering person, the stylist assistants, the guy that, like, repaints the white wall or the white floor every day at the studio. Like, my job wouldn't be possible without that. So I just think that it's about, like, being realistic. It's not really, like, something that, like, why are you realistic? It's like, I wouldn't be
Yeah,
able to do that without the gratitude. And I think
I love that.
people that aren't grateful are people that are not really, like, opening their eyes and looking around, if they
That's
think that they
huge.
did it on their own. And I think probably, like, being conscious of, like, in situations that feel like they're moving really fast. There was a point in my career, like, also where I was just so stressed and, like, over anxious that I realized things that, like, now I look back on and I'm like, I wish I just, like, I know I was nervous and anxious, like, I wish I just really, like, looked around for a second. And it wasn't out of a lack of gratitude. It was really that I was, like, so overwhelmed by work. But I think that it would have really helped me to just look around, take a breath, like, think about what it smelled like. Think
Mm,
about, like, just slow down in the moment. I think I could have been more grateful, or just more, I guess I would have been more present in that sense if I had slowed down for a second. And I think when you're able to slow down and, like, really look around and think about how many things have to come together for us to do something on a daily basis,
I
or
love that. Like,
have success with something.
yeah, I love that idea, because, like, when you're having fun and you're experiencing success, everything's like this, right? It's like constant, constant, constant. But the idea of slowing down is so huge, especially now. So I love that. I have this
Yeah.
quote that you said, going back to the gratitude, you say we're stronger when we celebrate each other. And
Yeah.
again, that's another reason why I wanted you on, because that we need to do that. That's what I'm trying to do
Yeah.
with my project. I'm trying to celebrate people who are on this path of gratitude and appreciation of authenticity. And that's the next thing I want to ask you about. Like, you're so authentic, G. And I think a
Thank
lot
you.
of people look up to you because of that, like, natural authenticity.
Mhm.
And I feel like the world is asking for more people to be their true selves, and that authentic vibe. Could you
Yeah.
talk a little bit about that, and just kind of how to empower other people to be more authentic?
Yeah. Well, I think, in my points in life where I've been the most anxious or down, or, you know, trying to get it together on a daily basis, or my hardest mental times are the times where I've kind of blocked off from not there were times where I didn't want to like face the world, you know, where I was more like I didn't want to be as public, or like I was like dealing with stuff myself. And like I think that when I was able to then find my version of what we were talking about, which is like everyone needs to find their version of like living inspired, is when finally I could like give speeches like I did. And a lot of people when I speak publicly, or I'm a good writer and I love writing speeches and I love thanking people and telling stories and giving gratitude, but when I care a lot about that, my voice shakes. And it's because I cared. And I think that when I would start to give speeches like that, I really then tried to be open with like, look, I don't have like all jolly good days, you know what I mean? And I think that once you come out the other side and you're able to be like, okay, that was a human experience, like now I need to like tell people how I got to the other side, and like hopefully that like can make people find their own way of doing that. And I think that that's where people see me for who I am, because I don't always try to play like the everything's good, you know what I mean? I'm a pretty even-keeled person. I think that I think I've always kind of been that way, in the sense that I'm not gonna overdo it for someone, or like, you know, kiss ass for no reason. I just like I try to be like as even keeled and therefore like genuine at all times, instead of you know, trying to push something that I'm not feeling really. You always have to be polite, and you always have to come with respect and professionalism. But when I learned that as long as you're assertive and polite, you never will get to a point where you feel like you're being a yes person just to make everyone else happy, and then get to a point where you feel taken advantage of and then blow up on people and be someone that you don't want to be, where it comes out sideways. And when I learned that, it helped me so much, because in the beginning of my career, I had a hard time with saying no to jobs, telling people what I was comfortable with at times. And that was a struggle for me. And I think that that's where I would then feel taken advantage of, or feel like I was too in over my head, because I was trying to make people happy and show that I was grateful and show that I wanted to work hard and show I deserve to be here, because I know I come from privilege, and I know that, like, you know, a lot of girls that are my coworkers are literally doing this to send money home to their families, and I wanted to prove that I deserved to be there with them, because I have such respect for them that I would push myself too far. And when I learned that, like I said, being assertive doesn't mean you're a bitch. It means that you are balanced and you know what your boundaries are. And I think that that comes off as genuine in the end.
Absolutely. As
long as you're polite and like I said, professional, you can say what you want. And like anyone that has a problem with that, that's usually like their own problem.
Right. That is so huge, Steve. Like, I just want to touch on that for one more second, and I'm watching the clock too. So
no, it's okay. It's fine.
Trying here, but I want you to.
I'll tell you when I have to like go pack.
Okay, sounds good. I wanted you to touch on FOPO, because I just feel like this is a huge issue for all of us, myself included. Fear of other people's opinions. I feel like kind of just like you've been able to look at that and just smash that, just like you smash a volleyball. You're like,
I try. And like, I'm glad it comes off like that, but no, I still like definitely care about like other people's opinions, and sometimes too much, but that's something that I work on every day, where it's like, why do I care about that person's opinion? And there's certain people's opinions that I don't care about, but I think that when I do care about someone's opinion, it's either like, there's either a self-conscious or a realistic voice in the back of my head that's telling me something that I'm not listening to or that I'm trying to push away. I think it's important to like look at why you care about someone else's opinion, because obviously it's not good to blow off everyone's opinion.
Right.
But does that matter in the scheme of people that I respect for a reason,
right,
that have taught me something that I look up to for, like, there's certain people that you want their opinion for a reason. There's other people that you have to realize don't really understand the full story.
Right.
And I think that that's with social media a huge thing, is like, no one's ever going to really know the full thing. And like, if you're taking people's opinions on their knowledge of 1% of what's going on, then like, it's just a waste of energy. And again, that's not something that comes easy to me. I still have to work on that, because you can look through 100 positive comments and you remember the one negative one.
Right. Right.
But also like being realistic. Like, now I know when I go into an interview, I mean, obviously I know what I'm willing to or not willing to talk about, but also you have to realize, like, whatever you say, there's going to be someone that has a problem with what you say or how you do it or whatever. And you can't please everyone ever.
Totally.
It's just
I think that skill set of having tunnel vision, as well as being open to people that can inspire you and can help you with your journey. I think that's the balance that we're talking about here.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay, let's just talk about impact. I know a big part of you and your life and your career is about creating that positive impact. Can you just talk quickly about a couple things, like the causes that you're a part of, like the, Pencils of Promise, UNICEF, you went to Bangladesh. Can you just touch on those things a little bit?
Well, I think at one point, like I said, you get to a place where you have to make it about something other than yourself, and you have to be like, okay, these are like all the I think I like writing down and making like goals and lists and whatever, and you have to get to a place where in your career you're like, asking for more would be greedy. Like, at some point you have to start putting your energy towards people other than yourself. And not only in terms of, and that doesn't mean that you don't continue to like have goals or push for them, but like, do I need to do this same magazine for the 7th time? Or can I take that time to go with UNICEF on a trip? You know what I mean? Like, those things that I started to realize, like, there are just things that would be more fulfilling and more interesting, and more of a, I don't know.
Impact.
More important. Yeah, more impactful.
Yeah.
And when I went to UNICEF, they were like, is there one region or one issue that you want to focus on?
Yeah.
And again, like, at that point you have to be a student, and you have to say, like, or at least for me, I was like, send me wherever you want for whatever, issues that they're facing. Like, I want to go learn. And you also have to look at that not as that you are going to help those people. That's not how I look at it. I look at it as, I'm going to be a bridge for that area or that community to have a voice to the rest of the world. And
Wow.
like, and something that at the time when I first started working with UNICEF and going on field trips, were like field visits, where I did one with the CEO, Carol Stern. And she said that the first thing she always asks people when you go to meet people on these visits is, instead of like normal questions that maybe you would think to ask, like just to say, what do you want the world to know about you? Like to stop assuming that we know what they want or need or would be comfortable with just because that's what we are comfortable with.
Right.
And that's also something that I listened to and learned a lot about during a lot of people's sharing, like during the Black Lives Matter movement, was like, as a white passing person, like, yeah, my dad's Arab, but like as someone coming into a situation where you assume you're the helper, like you're there to help or be the savior, like that's not what it is. It's like, you don't know what that person needs. You have to create a relationship with that person and find out the best way that they need help. You can't assume. And I think that that's, whether that's with UNICEF or Pencils of Promise, obviously Pencils of Promise was more of a money raising thing through collaborations that I had that then went towards building a school for Pencils of Promise. But like, I would like to go, obviously, visit that school after COVID restrictions are down, and be able to ask them, what do you still need at this school? And really, it's not assuming. You can't assume. You have to go in and be really a
catalyst of change.
You have to be a tool for them.
Yes.
You're not there to
Self-promote.
it's not about you. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I absolutely love that, G, and I want to be a part of that moving forward. Like, I want to go and help with volleyball,
awesome.
and like really spread, you know, the joy of volleyball to a bunch of these kids all over the place. And I'm so proud of you for doing that. And I think one last thing on that point, like when you got back from Bangladesh, I think I saw you say somewhere that like you were able to come back home, and you got emotional because you're like, they're still there. You know, it gives you that perspective, right? And like we all get caught up in our problems and our stuff, right?
Yeah.
But when you go experience something like that, and you see a refugee camp that's that big.
Yeah, well, that was for that specific trip, because obviously, like, another example, like when I went to just visit villages, like that's where those people live. They're happy living there. That's where they want to live. That's not like, oh, because we don't live in a city like New York, that like therefore like my life is better. They're happy in that life. They, you know, we ask like, what do you need help with? And they're like, we just want like a well with clean water. Besides that, we're happy living our lives. So that wasn't to say, oh, like my life is here, and if you live in a village somewhere that's here. That was only to relate to the refugee camp, because obviously those people want to go home.
Right.
They don't want to be refugees, and they want citizenship, and they want to exist on paper, and that was the hardest part, where it's like UNICEF does so much, and I really, you know, the complexities of really everything they do, from education to water safety, and they do everything, but they can only do so much in terms of, they have to be invited by a government to help, and then they can only go so far, you know what I mean? Like when people are asking, when you say, what do you need? What can I help with? What can I go back and tell UNICEF America that like we really need to put funding towards? They're like, we want a passport. And that's what's sad, is like, you also realize that like you can only like do so much, really. And I think that's why I was emotional at that point, because like there's also times where like I can't look a girl in the eyes and promise that I'm going to help her get a citizenship. Like I just know that like my reach only goes so far, so it's tough.
Right. Well,
In
for
certain
the
situations.
no, for sure. Well, for those that want to be involved, that don't quite know how, anyone listening to this right now, what are some ways you can get involved with some bigger causes like that?
Well, I know that for UNICEF, you can go online to become a volunteer, and there's different. I think you can maybe choose what you're interested in terms of, like I said, regions or issues. And I think that there's then a process to become part of that
Okay.
club. And then, but we also have to start like in our backyards. And I
Right.
think that people look at a UNICEF trip, because we all grew up, trick-or-treating with our UNICEF coin box, that like like it's like an aspirational version of like helping and doing. But then because that's like, oh, that's overseas somewhere, we forget like to look at our sidewalk and see what's happening. So it's like everyone can be creative in their own way, and whether that's a community pantry or fridge, or just to go talk to people. Like it doesn't have to be about money or
Love that.
what you can give in terms of like wealth or material things. You can also, like, if you're good at, this is an example that my friend Sophia Rowe gave when she was talking about helping like Black businesses in your neighborhood, like that you can go and just start a relationship with the shop owner, right? And don't right away ask, how can I help, or whatever. It's like you can go learn about that, and she'll be like, oh, I just really need like I just really want more customers, right? If you're good at designing posters and like you just want to like draw a poster for her and go copy 100 posters at like the FedEx store and then go give them around, it doesn't take like what sometimes we think is obvious ways to help. It's like little things that you can lend your talent, or even just to teach her or make her an Instagram account for her plant store, you know what I mean? So to be creative with what you're good at, and to give that in small ways is good too.
I absolutely love that. To me, that means project help each other, right? Like that's something I came up with, and I love that you use your platform to continue to do that. So good on you for that. Keep doing it. As your platform gets bigger and bigger and your reach keeps expanding, like keep that message going. And that's something for me too. Like we as leaders, because you remind me of inspired leadership. It's another little phrase I came up with. Like we as leaders, we need to keep branching out, keep expressing that message, and it's just so powerful right now more than ever,
Mm-hmm. No, for sure.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Do you have like 2 more minutes so I can breeze through a couple of player questions here?
Yeah.
I wanted to give my players a chance to ask you some questions. So this first one is from Nicole Rich. Shout out Nicole. She asks, what do you do to de-stress?
I love to like cook, go on walks, do yoga. And that's kind of like part of the being inspired part. Like I think that doing things that are only to inspire in a small way or fulfill yourself in some way is to take time for yourself and to like show yourself love. And I think that that's not only inspiring and can change your mindset, but I think that's also calming and relaxing and a way to unwind. So I think that it can do both things. If there's, if it's not to go towards something, you don't have to paint a perfect picture to hang on a wall. It's just to paint. Like, just do it to do it, and like to, yeah.
Yeah, well, I love that, dude, because stress, that's a underlying thing we didn't really talk about, but stress is big right now for kids, right? Especially with social media, they're always watching other people do stuff, and then they're like trying to figure out what they're doing, and like, oh, it could be stressful.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a huge one. We kind of already covered this, but I'm going to give a shout out to Reese Ty Sandoval. She asked, in what ways did sports influence you to feel the need or want to inspire others in your future? Good question.
I think just realizing that like little moments of people's time, whether that was, you know, coaches that I had, or I can't remember who it was. Maybe you would remember, but I remember like one time, like just like this Team USA coach and one of the players like came to watch us practice at some tournament, or like warm up at some tournament. Maybe they even watched us play. And like, I don't remember who that coach was or who that player was, but just that someone gave the energy to us was meaningful.
That's huge.
And just like took the time for us when like, you know, they could have been anywhere doing anything.
Totally.
So I think just to realize that when you have time and when you give that to others, like it might not seem like that big of a deal, but like maybe it will be for someone or something.
And it's exactly what you're doing right now, right? Like you're doing it. Like, that's awesome. Just a few more here, G. How did you manage your frustration in the kind of moments on the court where you referenced earlier, when you used to look at me, or you should just be like, oh, I just.
There were times where I definitely punched the floor, and I remember Coach Grace, you go, gee, I need those hands.
Yeah.
Stop punching the floor.
Yeah, how do you manage that frustration? This question is from Eva Breyer. You know, it's a really good question because we all get frustrated. Like, maybe now looking back, instead of punching the floor, is there something else that you could tell your younger self about that?
There would be, you know, in horseback riding, for example, we're on a set course, so like you can start the course and botch the first jump, but if you keep that mindset through the entire thing, you're botching every jump.
Right.
So, and in riding, I at one point was able to take a clinic with a sports psychologist, which is really interesting. And something that I've always has been in the back of my head is change the channel, that you have to be able to like really change your mindset, and also realize that like getting to a place where you're punching the floor is like probably the most selfish that I was being on the court.
Wow. That's huge.
And like, not only does like that not change the fact that I hit the ball out, but like that's not like cool energy to like give your teammates, you know, and like that's not like helping anyone else, and we all carry each other's energy, so it's not just to think about what you're doing as an action, but also like how you really are affecting the room is important. So I think that, I mean, you used to do this, and I'm sure you still do it, where you would have kind of a meditation visualization of the game before we played, and just to, I think when you're doing that, to connect with like your highest being of like who, tap into to your highest self, and then say how would they react or not react in this situation, and then just do that. Is an artist named Sister Cody that I follow does that, and like, or that was one of his paintings. So like those words kind of stuck with how he's like, just think of your higher being, what would they do or say, and then just do that. Like it seems more simple than it is, obviously, but like, and obviously when you're in the moment of a game, I understand the passion and like you just want to do your best, but to also put that into, I don't know, a more positive place.
I love that. I love that. Thinking of the best version of yourself and how that person would react.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's beautiful. Oh, this one is from Eva Friend. How is Aaron as a coach? Are there any lessons or advice he's taught or given you that you still remember that has helped you in your life later on?
Well, I just think like there's like little ways, like I said, I mean, the one that I brought up, I think was like a really memorable one for me, just like how you let me have that opportunity of when I got that movie role, but like also didn't let me slack as a player. Like you kind of held me to respect my teammates like just as much as, you know, normal. But I don't know, there's just like little ways, like just the fact that we would have beach workouts and, you know, that when we were our most tired, it wasn't an excuse. And when, you know, if a ball would drop and no one was on the floor, we all roll. You know what I mean? And it's like little things like that where it's just like it builds character, like period. And I just have one that I just forgot.
Maybe
Yeah, just being on time, being like part of a team, answering emails, like just really, oh, and also not just like that kind of stuff, focusing on the quality and the value in like taking every single thing that you do in a practice or in a workout like seriously. In terms of each movement and how if you are not focusing on that specific movement, you can hurt yourself. And learning that we're not just playing volleyball, like you have to put the effort into doing each thing correctly and with respect for what that is, and not just like blowing out our bodies to like just roll and roll and roll. Like you have to do everything with
intention.
Which
it's okay.
Sorry, so
yeah, no worries.
Intention and yeah.
Yeah,
Intention.
I love that. I love that. Last two, and then we'll let you go. Anastasia Rowe asks, what emotions do you feel when you are playing? If you can remember back to your emotions. Because, you know, and that's a really good question, because look, we kind of touched on this earlier. This journey can be an emotional roller coaster, and you have to really manage your emotions. I would like you to answer that from volleyball and actually from being on the world stage as a model, because it's both, you know, an emotional roller coaster.
What do I remember emotionally from I mean, always, I just passion. Like I love to win. Competitiveness, absolutely. I was always competitive. I never, like, there wasn't a game that didn't matter to me.
You were pissed. I love when you play because you were upset. You're like, let's freaking go.
Like, yeah, no, and I hold my teammates accountable. You know what I mean? And it's like, there were times where I would like punch the floor and whatever, but I would also be like, hey, check your energy. Like, what are you doing? You know what I mean? Like, yeah. I'm checking my energy. I know I'm not perfect, but like, are you?
Right.
So I think emotionally passionate, excited. I always like, and just that, like, do whatever you do 100%. Like, yeah, it might not seem like it's the Junior Olympics every tournament, but you have to have the same drive and excitement for the practices as you do for JO qualifiers.
Right. The journey.
Yeah.
Yeah. And would you say that that's the same in your modeling career or similar?
Yeah, I think, I mean, obviously I'm not as like competitive or yeah, still the passion in finding, and I guess this goes with both things. Like, you have to find in practice the things that are your favorite parts. You know what I mean? That keep you going. And that's the same like when I'm at a shoot. Maybe the stuff that feels really normal about the day isn't always what feels like what makes you want to do your best, because they're normal and you start to get comfortable. But I think to find things in each day that are interesting or new, or that you want to focus on, or that you want to learn about, is important.
Yeah. Love that. Okay, last question, G.
Okay.
This is from Josie Hober. What is one way that you keep yourself motivated in such a competitive industry and maintain your energy? Love that question.
Because it's not about it's not about competitiveness.
Right.
If you make it competitive, especially in my industry, but I think that, I mean, my industry, because it's my physicality that is the comparison to the outside world. But in any job, like I said, in terms of what's the baseline for what you have to be in that job, can't be a competitive thing, because then you're really valuing yourself on something that I don't know. I can't think of what word would be right. It's not materialistic, but it's valuing the wrong thing about yourself if you're being competitive. Because if you're valuing the right things, it's really like focusing on your actions and output on a daily basis, and then realizing that really, like, you can only do you can be the only one that like is pushing yourself, and that has nothing to do with anyone else or the path that they're on or anything like that. I don't know if that really answered the question.
Yeah, I think so. I think what you're basically trying to say is like, don't compete, don't compare yourself, or don't compete to anyone outside of yourself. Like,
Yeah.
it's kind of similar in sports, volleyball, whatever.
Yeah.
Anything. Like, yes, you want to beat the other team, but like, you can't focus on that.
Yeah.
You gotta focus on you.
No, and like, you can focus on aspects, like, okay, they're
Aspects, yes.
one of their hitters left-handed all of a sudden.
Sure.
That's different.
Right.
But it's not going, oh shit, that's a left-handed hitter and I'm still a right-handed hitter. That has nothing, you know, it's not like, oh, we're gonna lose because they have a little something here. It's like, no, how can I then face that, change my block, change my hands? How can I, you know, it's not getting so stuck on why they're great or better than someone on your team. It's how do you learn in the moment? It goes back to like just learning, taking it all in, and like learning how then you move forward yourself. It's not really about it. You should see other people as an aspect of what you're doing, or a piece that you have to execute around, but it doesn't really have to do with them.
Yes, I think that's huge. I know exactly what you're saying. It's like the champion mindset is like, just make adjustments.
Yeah.
Like, keep your attention on you and not on them. Yeah. Love that, G. Gigi Hadid. I can't thank you enough for this whole time. This was amazing.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
I really do appreciate your time. I know we went over, but I think
it's okay.
It's really valuable. Just real quick, how can people, or, you know, promote anything you want for a second? I don't know, like, should people should go buy your Reebok line and all that stuff.
What do I have to promote? I have to promote I don't know, go to therapy, go on a walk.
I love that.
Look at the sunshine every day.
Oh, I love that.
Do things that make you happy even if they don't equal something. So like just paint today or learn how to bake bread. That's what I promote.
I love that. I love that. I'm giving a quick shout out to your dad, Muhammad, because I love watching his little videos on the food.
Isn't he so funny? Oh my God.
He's
And
amazing.
he talks about, he's like, I was one of the only like team dads, you know, like it was always
He
me and
was.
moms.
He was.
He
No,
was
he
so
was. He
proud
was
though.
always there. He would always come to Anaheim, and I'm just like, oh man, it's
And
great.
then one time he showed up in Reno at JO
Yeah.
qualifiers, and
Yeah.
like and it was a surprise. I didn't know he was coming, and that was one of the most like, I just remember being like, what?
Hey, what up, Muhammad?
That was awesome. Yeah.
G, you're an inspiration
Thank you so much,
to
Coach.
everyone, to me. I appreciate you. I respect you. We should do this again sometime.
Yeah, no, thank you, and thank you for me personally, but I'm sure I can speak on behalf of all your players. We appreciate your passion as a coach and all the time that you put in, and I know that wherever they go, whether that's professional volleyball or other careers, that we can always use what we learn from our coaches. So respect your coach, y'all, and yeah.
Thank you, G. I really
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Have a good
All right,
one.
we'll talk soon, all right?
Yeah. Bye.
Okay, bye.